Welcome to the Knowledge Catalog. This is CJ and we are going to have another topic actually for this video. It's under the Earth and Space Sciences. We are going to particularly talk about fossils, their definition, their importance, and their formation. You notice that we're not featuring any learning competency for this video, but you can actually use this for junior high school instruction because from my experience, grade 10 can actually include this kind of topic about fossils. If you're familiar with their learners module, you'll be finding actually some discussions about fossils, about relative dating, carbon dating, and about geologic time scale. So you may want to check that out. If you want to have a copy of this presentation, you may contact me through my Facebook page. It's in facebook.com/knowledgecatalog/. Let's begin. Fossils. You know what, as a child, I have been really curious about these kinds of organisms. Given the fact that I was so young, I was thinking about all of the other organisms that I was not able to see. In my locality, it is really having a really high biodiversity. My locality, it is in Santo Niño, Magalang, Pampanga. We are living next at the foothills of a mountain, Mount Arayat, and it has a very rich biodiversity. And I was wondering, do I get to see all of the organisms on Earth just by observing all of the organisms around me? And I was like growing like that. And from time and time again, I realized that some organisms can't really thrive in one place, and some organisms cannot thrive in a particular time. So some organisms are not just around anymore, such as dinosaurs. But we have evidences of them through fossils. Fossils are preserved remains or traces of animals, even plants, and other organisms from the past. So if it's your first time to talk about fossils, I would like to tell you hindi lang basta animals yung napofossilize, even plants and other microorganisms they have fossils. We call them microfossils. Usually, only a portion of the organism is preserved, but it is not assuming that that is the only way for organisms to be preserved in parts. No, some organisms are indeed, like siguro, very few of them are preserved as a whole body. But when we say, body that is preserved, we call them body fossils. So, pwedeng parts lang siya, pwedeng bone or exoskeletons, or that part of the body that is covering it and is hard, or other words are tough. So, we call that exoskeleton. Pwedeng ma-preserve yun. Pwede ring mga trace fossils. Trace fossils are not parts of the actual body of the organism, but they came from the body of that organism, and they can give us or tell us something about those bodies. Say feces, fossilized na poop, and then footprints. Yung mga footprints ng mga dinosaurs, they're also fossils. Yung mga nag-remain lang, yung mga natira. Yeah. So even chemofossils or biochemical signals are considered to be fossils. This is a very familiar fossil for you, I think. It's this shell. You have seen so many of this, I guess, by this time. It is really amazing how how nature can preserve its own history and tell us stories through these kinds of things, fossils. And this shell, since it's hard, it is if I'm not mistaken, it's an exoskeleton. We can call it an exoskeleton. Was preserved through time, and its age, it can range from about 10,000 to 3.48 billion years. So pwede siyang umabot na ganun katanda. Just like extant organisms, fossils may vary in size. Some are microscopic, I already told you about that, such as single-celled bacteria, to gigantic like dinosaurs and trees. So this is a photo of different microfossils. Yeah, they are microscopic. And then this is a photo of a part of a tree that was preserved. We are so used to seeing leaves of fossilized leaves of trees from, the ages of the past. But I think it is rare for you to see something like this. I don't think you're seeing a tree right here. Pero seeing fossils, one of the most cringy for me is seeing fossilized fish. You know what? That is one of my one of the things that are quite different with me. When I see fish that are fossilized fish, of course, describing the life from the past, I am really quite afraid of them. They are daunting. Like, of all the kinds of fossils, sa kanila ako pinakatakot. Nakakatakot sila. Even actually, deep sea fish, I'm afraid of them. Yeah, just looking at them and, thinking that you are swimming in the sea and then you will be facing these fish, I'm quite afraid of them. Nevertheless, fossils are important evidence for evolution. So I'm really glad that our current fish are no longer looking like this, or as scaly as this one looks like. So because they show that life on Earth was once different from the life around on Earth today. They are very important because they are telling us our story. They are telling us what happened in the past. And those people who are primarily responsible in studying fossils are called paleontologists. They can determine the age of fossils using methods such as radiometric dating and categorize them to determine the evolutionary relationships between these organisms. And through their studies, the observation of certain fossils were actually associated with certain rock strata led the 19th century geologists to recognize that there is a geological time scale. Yan, because of the commonalities of some specimens, and they are called fossils. Smart 19th century geologists were able to arrive with a conclusion that there is this geological timescale, that the layers of the geosphere and the fossils you will see in each of those layers are going to tell us a story about that specific age with which they are commonly in. Now, we've been talking about fossils. We know what they are. We know what they can tell us, our past. But how were they formed in the first place? Let's talk about their steps. The first step, of course, is it's quite self-explanatory. That for the process of fossilization to occur, the death of the organism must first ensue. It has to happen first. So that's the first step. The second step is that the soft tissues such as skin, as you see in this photo, the skin, actually not in this photo, what I mean is yung ibang soft tissues niya such as yung feather, yan. Or yung parang finer feather, and then of course may skin din yan, like even though we cannot really see it because of that thick fur. Ayan, they can decompose. If not, they can be eaten by the scavenger, leaving behind hard tissues such as bones. In rare cases, the body is immediately covered upon death by mud or volcanic ash. The whole body is preserved without decomposition in that case. So, say this organism, if it gets covered immediately upon death, it is not going to lose any of its parts, and chances are we are going to discover it as a whole organism. The next step is the transportation of the parts. Scavengers, wind, rain, and other weather conditions may take some parts of the organism elsewhere. Wind, rain, those are talking about, they are involving abiotic components of an ecosystem. It means nature itself can cause the transportation of the parts of the organism. Now, this is the reason why most of the fossils we know or we discover are only parts of a whole organism. Pwedeng bone lang siya, or ribs, or pwede ring yung head lang. Ayan. And then our smart paleontologists are just going to figure out some symmetry, if there is any, and then of course Then they'll come up with some with some completion for the entire organism's body, because more or less they're just going to see something like this as shown on the photo. Yan, fragments lang na lang talaga sila, and kung halimbawa yan lang, backbone lang ang makikita nila, well, that is common because transportation has happened way back. Now the empty spaces within what we see here, they look like rocks. Okay, now why is that so? It's because the empty spaces within an organism, so yung dating space na nung buhay pa yung organism na yun ay mayroong tubig or meron siyang gas, because of they're already dead and then they're filled with mud or some volcanic ash, those are now going to become filled with some mineral rich groundwater. Minerals are going to precipitate from the groundwater and they will be occupying those empty spaces. And this process can actually occur in a very microscopic level, such as in the cell wall of a plant cell. Just try to imagine that cells are microscopic and then minerals are going to infiltrate. So that is going to lead, of course, to the permineralization of the entire body of the organism. And permineralization, small scale permineralization, can produce very detailed fossils. Now, they're fossilized and they're going to be buried further, and further. But we all know that the crust, or siguro more appropriately, the lithosphere is moving. It has faults. So because of those movements, some layers of it that were buried too deep before can get into the surface and expose some cuts, where fossils that were buried before are now going to be put in the surface. What I mean is, di ba, ang alam natin, syempre, when it's fossilized na, matatabunan siya ng layers of the, ng layers pa ng lupa hanggang sa talagang sobrang deep na niya. Now, we all know then that the geosphere, the lithosphere specifically, is moving. And then, apart from the fact that it's moving, it also is divided into plates. It has boundaries. Now, because of those movements, there are a lot of chances when a particular plate will be subducting, and then one of the plates is going to move upwards, and because of that, some mountains are going to be formed, and because of that too, pwedeng ma-expose yung layer of the lithosphere that was actually buried too deep before, and thus it will be exposing as well some fossils. And that is the very last step. The last step is discovery, of course. So this video may be quite quick, so I am hoping that you have got some useful information out of it. Okay, so again, you can use this for your instruction, and it's particularly going to be useful for grade 10 third quarter, because they will be talking about evolution, and with that, the learner's module suggests that it's necessary to talk about fossils, relative dating, carbon dating, and the geologic time. So yeah, that's it. I hope I'll see you in the next video. The Knowledge Catalog is a brand being developed by yours truly. I am a teacher creator, and I'm a high school teacher in the Philippines, and I love developing content for my students because I find these types of content useful and needed to better my instruction. What's more is that I am doing my best to contextualize it, because junior high school education in the Philippines is not really asking the students to memorize a lot, to do a lot. There is this specific learning competency with a specific level of difficulty that they need to master for junior high school. So yeah, so that's something I learned from my experience in junior high school. Let us not force our students to understand something that they're supposed to know comes college. There is always a specific time for a specific level of difficulty. If you want to support these kinds of content that I am developing, you may leave a like or subscribe to this channel. And again, if you want to have a copy of this presentation, you may send me a message through my page. It's on facebook.com/knowledgecatalog/. See ya.